One of the big talking points in the last 9 years of the Modi government has been the government's treatment of minorities. Now, there is a view, particularly amongst liberals, as well as, of course, in Western capitals, that the Modi government does not treat minorities, particularly Muslims, well, and that there is persecution of Muslims, there is love jihad, and there is persecution of Muslims in the name of anti-cow slaughter, etc. Does that hold up? And particularly when it is compared to what we've seen in Pakistan over the last 75 years, the journey of that country from what was envisaged to what it has now become, that it is an ethno-religious state. Here, again, critics of the Modi government are making the argument that India is going down that same path into becoming a Hindu majoritarian state. Does that view hold up, particularly when it's viewed from the other side? Joining me now is Professor Dr. Ishtiaq Ahmed. He's Professor Emeritus with the University of Stockholm for Political Science. Thank you very much, Professor Ishtiaq Ahmed, for speaking with us here on CNN News 18.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm looking forward to our discussion.
All right. I want to first start off by asking you, we have seen the journey of Pakistan over the last 75 years. There's too many troubles to talk about in this day and age that the country is going through, whether it is political, economic, so on and so forth. But I'm curious to know about the journey of Pakistan, which has now become an ethno-religious state. No one's making any bones about it, and that is best envisaged or seen in the treatment of the state towards its minorities, not just the Christians or the Hindus, but also to Ahmadiyyas or other ethnic sections within the Muslim community who are not treated particularly well. Could you give us an outline of this trajectory as to how, or at least what the idea of that state was by its founding fathers to what it has become now?
Well, my research, I have demonstrated it in 3 books of mine: The Punjab, Bloodied, Partitioned and Cleansed, Unraveling the 1947 Tragedy Through Secret British Reports and First-Person Accounts. That's one book. Then the second one is Pakistan, the Garrison State. It explains why Pakistan could not stabilize with civilian supremacy. And the third one is about the founder of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah.
Yeah.
Jinnah, his successes, failures, and role in history. And all 3 books I have demonstrated abundantly with references. Nobody can question that the whole premise on which Pakistan was based was flawed. And that was that if you don't belong to my religion, then you are ipso facto an enemy of mine. Mm-hmm. That trick or that argument of Muhammad Ali Jinnah proved to be effective because the British needed a foothold in India even when power was transferred, and that is why Pakistan came into being. But this whole notion that if you don't belong to my faith, then you are my enemy, then turned inside. And people found that among this amorphous Muslim community, which was the majority in Pakistan, there were differences, deep-rooted differences based on sect and subsect, and then you had all these linguistic nationalities competing with one another. And the Pakistani state lacked a vision, in sharp contrast to the freedom struggle upon which India launched its long non-violent struggle, and finally it culminated with the freedom of India. Mm-hmm. Pakistan came into being very quickly without any clear vision. And I have shown that Jinnah can be quoted in all ways you want to. There are many statements by him which are in favor of an Islamic state upholding the Sharia. Then there are statements saying that Pakistan will be a Muslim democracy, a spiritual democracy. And then finally, one speech on which everybody latches on of 11th August, where for the first and only time, Jinnah said, in this great state of Pakistan, Hindus will cease to be Hindus and Muslims will cease to be Muslims, not in a religious sense because that is a matter of private faith, but as citizens of the state. Now, I have said that that speech lacked credibility entirely insofar as the people who had gone through the trauma of the partition. It had resulted in 1 million deaths and 14 to 15 million people uprooted from their homes in this Hindu India and Muslim Pakistan.
So-
And now to tell them that both can be equal citizens made no sense. And why did Jinnah say this? Because he got the sense that if India were to push the 35 million Muslims who were left behind in India, 1/3 of the population, Pakistan would collapse.
No,
so my argument
I
is
do-
that Pakistan
I do want to know, this
Yes.
this was what was said 75 years ago, and now it's there for everyone to see, the trajectory of Pakistan and where it is today,
Yes.
and the trajectory of India and where it is today.
Okay.
There is a sort of familiar argument that you hear about the Modi government in particular, that it is on the march or it is wanting to turn into India into a Hindu majoritarian state. You have been here in India. I
Yes.
presume this is not your first time here, but you have been here. You have interacted with people here. You have spoken to different people from different cross sections of society. What are your impressions, and does this argument hold, according to you, that India, which was envisaged and which has so far remained a secular state, may be being pushed by this government, by the current dispensation, into becoming a Hindu majoritarian state? Is there any merit in that argument from whatever you've seen and whatever observations you have in your interactions with people here?
Well, let me give an answer which I think must be at least should have two dimensions. One is what I observe every day, moving from one part of India to another, one city to another. There you find that Muslims are living like they have always lived in a plural sort of society. The mosques are there, the azan, the call to prayers I've heard being recited, women in burqa and in hijab walking in a leisurely manner as if that nothing has happened. So if you just go around different parts of India, there is no evidence that the Muslims constantly live in fear of aggression from the majority Hindus. But there is no denying that the BJP government does have a vote bank politics which favors the Hindus, and I have pointed out even to the RSS when I have met them that the BJP has not elected any Muslim to the Indian parliament.
Yeah.
And so there is reason to believe that there is a majoritarian thrust in the present government. But does it translate into Muslims living in fear all the time? I didn't find any evidence.
Okay, I want to now
think the
extend
normal
this.
tempo of life
I want to
is
extend
like-
this.
yeah.
Sure, I want to extend this to another facet of this conversation, and that is perhaps as a consequence of this narrative, or maybe independent of. We don't know. But there seems to be a hardening of stand
Yeah.
even within the Muslim community. And I'll give you one example that happened last week. There is a Waqf board from the southern state of Andhra Pradesh, where I believe a fatwa was issued last week, which said that any subsect within Islam will also be treated as kafirs or infidels. So the fatwa specifically talks about Ahmadiyyas, and I'm curious to know if that is something similar to what we have seen in Pakistan in the past, and is that danger there in India, that as there is this perceived push towards becoming a majoritarian state, or vote bank politics as you said it, consequently on the other side in the Muslim community in India, is there a hardening of stand as has been evidenced in some of these fatwas that we're seeing?
Well, I think these fatwas have been around ever since the Ahmadiyya community began to be noticed in the politics of primarily Punjab and then later on. So this is as old as the founding of the Ahmadiyya movement, And the difference is that in India, even if they issue such fatwas, that's not what the state upholds as part of its legal or constitutional system. So doesn't matter which group declares another group kafirs, because this they do all the time to each other, including the Sunni and Shia subsects. So this is a favorite pastime of the dogmatic type of ulama in all sects. And if I may dare, the Ahmadis also have a ruling that all those who do not accept their prophet, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, as a prophet of God, are also outside the pale of Islam. So
Okay.
all of them reject all other groups. The thing is, in Pakistan, the Sunni are a majority, so the Ahmadis have ended up at the receiving end. So that's the problem with an ideological state based on a particular religion. And then within the religion, you find you have all these deep divisions which favor one group in comparison to another. So that's the tragic situation of Pakistan, and maybe things like this are happening in India as well.
So I want to press, you've come at an interesting time here in India when there is this whole debate that's happening both in the media as well as in government and non-governmental circles about a uniform civil code. India does not have a uniform civil code. It has a uniform criminal law for all criminals, irrespective of caste or religion or creed, but it does not have a uniform civil code when it comes to matters like marriage and divorce and property rights, etc. Do you see the time has come for India to have one set of uniform laws? And the reason why the BJP and its supporters sort of advocate this is because, as per Sharia law in India, a Muslim man can keep up to 4 wives. That, they say, is not in consonance with civil laws for other communities. There are discrepancies when it comes to inheritance rights. Muslim daughters are not allowed to inherit ancestral property as much as the sons are allowed, and that is discriminatory. Do you see the case for a uniform set of civil laws?
Absolutely. I've been interviewed in India and even by Pakistani YouTubers on this issue, and I'm very clear. You see, I've been teaching human rights all my life, minority rights, women rights, children rights. So I am a great supporter of equality between the genders and age groups and so on. So I think the Uniform Civil Code, if it truly and sincerely wants to confer equal rights on men and women, then the incident of religion should have no place in it. And I think Muslim women would be as much benefiting from it as all others in the Indian population. So I see no argument in favor of Islam being threatened by such a civil code. I call it the citizen civil code. All men and women should have equal rights and equal responsibilities. And as far as I know, there is nothing to do with your faith, your right to pray as you please, the way you want to fast. I mean, those are the basic functions or belief system of Islam, which is not affected. So I am a great supporter of the Uniform Civil Code.
And I want to get one final word on how you see, from your vantage point, the goings on in Pakistan, politically speaking. Clearly, Imran Khan seems to have created this narrative that he was wronged politically and that there are powerful interests both in the civilian government as well as in the army who are out to get him. If an election were to happen today, it's likely that he would win the popular vote and his party would emerge as the single largest, but no one seems to be in any hurry to call that election. And whatever differences there were between him and the army leadership, it doesn't seem to have been thrashed through entirely just yet. So how do you see the political situation in Pakistan evolving in the near term?
I think Pakistan's political system has been in paralysis now for so long that I would not sound very optimistic unless some basic things were sorted out. And that means the establishment as well as the political leaders sit together and come to some agreement on the rules of the game. You know, when Imran Khan was in power, he, for 4 years almost, he continued with whatever the establishment was dictating to him. And then he didn't protest when they threw him out. So then he started this movement, and there is no doubt that he has popular support. And if elections were held now, he stands a very good chance of winning the elections. But he has gone so far in the direction of direct confrontation, categorical opposition to the establishment, that I don't think they will let him come back. But then in Pakistan, one should never be sure of the statements one is making. I think Pakistan needs to fix its priorities correctly, and among them is to bring to an end this confrontation policies towards India, normalize relations with India. You know, only before his retirement, a few months earlier, General Bajwa said that we will start trading with India, and a minister was also appointed, and a list of items we were going to start importing from India was declared. And then Imran Khan and his ministers rejected it, repudiated this whole idea of trade with India. So where should I look for people who are responsible and want to normalize relations within Pakistan and with Pakistan's neighbors? I see no light at the moment.
Professor Ishtiaq Ahmed, as always, a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much for your time and for your valuable insights. Thank you.
You're welcome.